Love.
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 Care.
Love.
Love.
Sex.
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 Damnation.
Dance.
Dhamaka.
Danger.
Darkness.
दिमाग खराब है.
Tishkow. Tishkow.
Daru.
Desperados.
Destruction.
This is the LSDcast, India's first podcast about love, sex, and dating.
Well, hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's us, and we are back. This is Prem and Rogue bringing you the LSDcast. Hi, Rogue. How you doing?
I love it when you do the radio announcery voice. I'm doing great.
Listen, this was way better than last time, okay? I wasn't like, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back. See, it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah, thanks for the demo. You're right. It wasn't. Let's keep it that way.
So, Rogue, let me ask you a question. Why do we have such a special show today? Why didn't you ask me that?
Okay, Prem, tell me, why do we have such a special show today?
Because as all our listeners know, we always bring something new, something exciting. And today is yet another day where we have someone really amazing who has joined us in our, well, you can call it a studio, but we have someone very special with us today.
That's right. Actually, she's sitting with me, so it's not like I don't know, but you guys who are listening don't know, so we have to do this. But the way this happened is there was somebody on Twitter who was making waves and getting retweeted like 100,000 billion times because she was doing a primer on how to do casual sex.
Oh.
And somebody tagged me and was like, don't you think LSDcast needs to grab her? And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So if you guys haven't seen Twitter explode already with Naomi Barton's thread, hey, we've brought her here for you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Naomi Barton, who is with us. Naomi, welcome to the LSD.
Woo! Hi, everyone. I am Naomi, and as of yesterday, the face of casual sex in India, which is a title while I adore, my mother is having a little bit of trouble with.
Wow.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
full on.
So, Naomi, how did you come about getting that name? Could you give us a little bit of a backstory to that?
So what ended up happening was a very close friend of mine who is very, very young. She's, the baby girlfriends that you're kind of the elder of the tribe with. She ended up hooking up with someone completely randomly. She's very traditional. So she's always been before the kind of girl who was like, right at the beginning, she was like only sex only in marriage. And then that became sex only in long-term stable relationships. And then she got severely fucked over by all of those ideas as well as the men. And she was just like, fuck this, mama wants some lovin'. And ended up hooking up with a total rando. See, now I call this a total rando, but she's been talking to him on Tinder for a year.
Wow.
I don't even know how people do that.
What?
A year. So she's just like, oh my God, I banged a stranger. And I was like, you've known him for a literal year. But that quite aside, for her, she was just like, you know what? I think I want to do some more of this. And I was like, some more of what? And she was like, just bang randos. So I was supportive of this decision because banging randos is something that I feel we should all be open towards doing. But again, considering they're complete randos, we should also be a little more safe about how we go about it because we're putting it in a place of real vulnerability, physical as well as emotional, when that kind of thing happens. So she was just like, what are the rules? And I think she was coming in from the perspective of like, do I text him first? Do I do the date 3-day wait? But I was just like, you're fucking him. Just make sure, like all the other stuff is more important than what he thinks of you. So yeah, I just ended up just spamming her WhatsApp with a bunch of just whatever I could think of at the time. And this went from just the basic stuff of just always use a condom to then finding out that she didn't know that you could get STDs from oral sex.
Oh my God.
Which was horrific.
Ouch.
And this is someone who is in my circles. She has the same access and privilege as I have. So it's not a question of, not being able to find out. It's just a question of literally nobody talks about this stuff.
Right.
So there's such minimal awareness on what can happen.
Right.
But then she's also, as quite a lot of us are when we're experimenting or trying all new stuff, getting up some freaky shit, which is fantastic, and everybody should be embracing the freaky shit. But also, you
I
run
agree.
you run a lot of real risks when you're doing it, and when you're not being sensible about it. So, this is the kind of advice that ranged from how to test whether or not your knots are tight enough or loose enough, as well as just what happens if someone comes in your mouth. So it spanned a lot of stuff. It was really random. But then the amount of stuff that came out of knowing that she didn't know so much, I just felt like enough people could need that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a really basic primer on these just basic facts, which are basic to me, but are possibly not basic to other people. And it went a bit mad.
So that's exactly what our purpose is as well, and we're hoping to widen the audience. People who are not on Twitter, didn't know you until now, can certainly find the thread. But we think we're doing public service here as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So perfect fit, right? Like a match made in heaven. We've got Naomi, who likes to talk about sex and give people advice, and Prem and Rogue in the house.
So basically, I think I've concluded to the fact that we have Naomi's friend to thank, because she was a good girl gone bad, and that led to Naomi tweeting and then being here on our show. So kudos to her friend hooking up with randos.
Yippee.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the primer basics after the break. So you guys should stick around. And, we've covered a lot of this other stuff in our previous episodes. So just go through our library. We're on every podcast app and also online at www.sonologue.com/listen/LSDcast.
And like Rogue said, listen, that was an order, by the way, subtly.
So after the break, we're going to come back with that primer. And you want to hear everything on it.
And we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Michael Burns from Tall Tales Takeaway, India's first storytelling podcast where we feature true stories by people just like you. Find us anywhere where podcasts are found.
And we have returned after that short break. So, Naomi, we wanted to jump in right away on, what we talked about earlier,
Sex.
which is about casual sex and like the dynamics of casual sex and what one would go through physically, like some of the rules, so to say.
Yeah, I think we also can talk about the emotional aspects and being vulnerable. But, Naomi is now our new best friend. So we're just going to have her come back on the show later. And you guys will just have to wait for that.
So, Rogue, one thing at a time, we're going to first focus on the physical. And of course, we would love to have Naomi back for another episode where we can discuss.
Oh, she has no choice.
Exactly. Naomi, I'm sorry, but now you're handcuffed to LSDcast.
Oh, yeah. Promises.
Okay, so we wanted to just start by talking about the dynamics of casual sex. So Naomi, take it away.
Yeah. What are the rules? How do you set this up? Where do you go? Who do you go with? Whose house? Whose bed? Whose couch? Whose taxi?
Oh, okay. So try not to do the taxis. One time I was in a taxi and it got very awkward because we were both very drunk. I was on top. There was no penetration happening, but it kind of sounded like there was. So the guy just kind of pulled over and he was just like, "Madam, मैं आपको अभी अब ये बदतमीजी बंद कर लो." And I was like, okay, I am bunding with the बदतमीजी. But then he was like, नहीं मैडम मैं आपको रिपोर्ट करने वाली हूँ, आप सेक्स कर रहे थे. And I was like, भाई साहब, अगर मैं सेक्स कर रही थी, if I was doing the sex, I would know I was doing the sex. So if you're going to penalize me, let me do the sex for it. And he was just like, I don't know how to respond to this, but I'm going to tell somebody. And he was just like, I wish your mummy was here and I could tell tales. But anyway, quite apart from uncle taxi drivers, most of the time what ends up happening with casual sex is there's a million ways to go about it, right? It starts from the basic idea that someone needs sex and you may not be in a relationship or you may not have a fuck buddy, but sex is a very vital need. It's something that makes you happy. It gives you that little endorphin rush. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And if you want a little bit of loving, sometimes you just go out and find it where you get it.
Yeah, I think of it like when you get your car serviced.
Exactly, pretty much.
You need to go get tuned.
Pretty much.
Prem is making faces. Why? What?
Prem,
you don't like
you
the
need to get your
analogy?
car serviced.
It's just a very funny analogy, that's all.
Like, there are these French gynecologists, right, who just swear by the 1 orgasm a day rule, where they're just like, for women, to maintain the health of your vagina, just to keep it happy, make sure you come once a day.
Wow.
And, sometimes you're happy hands, but other times, you just need to amp it up a bit, and another human being gets involved.
Definitely. I mean, it's casual sex is awesome because you don't have to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Obviously.
And I mean, sex it's not just about bumping uglies, right? There's so much other fantastic stuff involved with it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the rules. What do you do if you're the baby girl friend?
Oh, God.
Or the baby brother boyfriend type
Yes,
person?
okay.
And you're on Tinder or another app, and you're finally going to meet somebody.
Yeah. So an old-fashioned way of going about it would be to go to a club, grind up on someone, take them home. Very little actual conversation takes place, but in our new millennial age, thankfully, we can actually talk to people and get to know them at least a little bit before we end up going to bed with them. Tinder is a great way to start there. Most of my experiences have been on Tinder, so I'm going to just talk about that. A good way to start, at least for me, in terms of protecting myself as a woman, I'm also from Delhi. So in general, like, it's when you're a woman angling for sex, you're in a position of slight vulnerability. It's you don't know what's going to happen. And even if it's something as simple as, some dude will get on your WhatsApp and send you a bunch of dick pics, you don't want to be in that space, where you just have to get harassed. And if you're a woman who's clear about wanting sex, that is a liability that you have to come across. So for me, a lot of things that I do is just literally just put feminist in the headline. Like in my bio, it's just right there. And when I'm starting conversations with people, and I know this is like me being super mega paranoid, I'll just bring up like a really random thing about what do you think about, affirmative action or equal wages. And that seems the most ridiculous thing to do for someone you want to bang. But in relation to getting a general sense of how much do they know about consent, how safe will I be in relation to whether or not they're going to treat me like an actual person versus just someone to fuck? Do I want just good sex or just like crappy man sex? That's something that I do personally. But what could also just like general rules of thumb, meet in a public place. If someone is giving you like always, just if someone asks you 3 times doesn't mean you have to do it. Because women have a lot of problems with just straight up saying no. Like there's a sort of inbuilt sense of feeling obliged. But this is the beautiful part of casual sex. You don't owe anyone shit. So I use the fuck yes or fuck no rule. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. So
no maybes, no grays.
Exactly.
Okay.
You just do what you really, really want to.
And if you want to initiate it, how do you do that? Like if you decide, okay, he may not be the most liberal person.
Yeah, but I'll give it a shot anyway.
Yeah. Then what do you do?
I start off with just giving off a phone number. So you move it from Tinder into WhatsApp, or texting or whatever you're comfortable with. And that works for me. Generally talking about things that are kind of low-key about sex, like random innuendo sex joke here. It kind of puts, at least for me, this is a nice way to go about it because I'm not directly saying, hey, you want to fuck? But I am kind of low-key doing the whole flirty by keeping it in the sexual space. I'm open to this signaling. It can get tricky. What do you guys think? How do you navigate it?
So my question is, are you still deciding through the whole conversation until you meet that person? Because you might meet them and decide, oh my God, there's no way in hell I'm sleeping with this person.
Dude, I am deciding at every single step.
Okay.
So what I think of is mostly just, I'm doing the small steps. So when I'm talking to you, I'm not deciding whether or not I want to have your babies. I'm not deciding whether or not I want to see you again. I'm not deciding whether or not I want to get in bed with you. It happens at every single step. Me having the choice to just pull back and say, hey, you know what, I'm not into this, happens at every step.
Okay.
So even if I'm literally in your bedroom, in your bed, and there is a tiny thing that happens, which just makes me like, actually, you know what, I don't want to do that. That is within my space to do.
Yeah, and it should be, of course.
And so I think like that's also a lot of space to like for you to test out going forward as well, because there's no pressure, because you're not buying into that narrative of if I say this, I'm then saying yes to sex.
Right.
Which is what tends to happen as well. Like women are quite often very concerned that if I send the wrong signals, does it mean that I have consented? Which means that I will have led him on. And all of that is just bullshit. It's just a massive pile of bullshit.
Yeah, everybody listen to this. This is very, very important.
Yeah.
You have the right to say no until you say yes.
Pretty
whenever
much.
that is.
And even while, like, honestly, and this might be like a radical thought to consider, but while you're saying yes, while you are having sex, if you decide that something is going wrong and you don't want to, you can stop that shit down right there and exit.
Boys, you have this right too. And you
Exactly.
have to respect that everybody, every individual, whether you are whatever gender or part of the sexual spectrum you're on, everybody has this right. And you
Exactly.
have to respect the other person because that other person is an individual.
Exactly.
Okay, so you then decide that, yes, you want to go ahead.
Uh-huh.
You're in a club or in a coffee shop
Yes.
or, I don't know, having a Frankie on Carter Road.
So this is fantastic, right? Because I feel like the various permutations and combinations of this are just delicious. So I generally like to do the thing where we go to a bar and we sit down and we have a couple of drinks, and after about 3 or 4 drinks, you generally get a little bit horny and things move to a different area quite organically that way.
Can I just say some people get sleepy?
I know. Okay, then maybe like ease out the drinks.
No, I would never dream of doing something
Yes.
like that.
But also like
And I'm yawning. Yeah.
be on like don't get drunk because that's just kind of upsetting for everyone. But but like I know a friend of mine who doesn't drink. She's got digestive issues that stop her from drinking. So she goes to coffee shops. And the last time she hooked up with a rando, I should stop using the word rando. It's just so awful. Last time she looked up with an actual human being who she didn't know.
Right.
She was
Why
at
don't
a
we
coffee
just say
shop.
we're redefining rando. Rando means a human
Yes.
being that you don't know well. You just
Exactly,
met
and
online
there
or
are
something.
there are no implications
Right.
thereof.
Yeah.
So she went to a coffee shop and they were talking and they were having a nice time, and it got to like the coffee shop was closing at about 9. So it was a coffee shop that they knew like it was open for long enough. It wasn't dinner or anything. Like it was late-ish. And he was like, but she couldn't come back home to her place. I mean, she obviously had the thing of going to another friend's house, but she also wanted to bang him. But he wasn't making a move. So she was just like, I can't go back to my hostel. So would you mind? I mean, would you like? Do you wanna kind of? Nobody ever finishes these sentences.
Right.
You just like leave them in the general area of imagination. Basically saying, do you want to go back to my place? His place. And he was like, yeah, sure. This conversation is so great. Let's continue it. Let's not stop here. Let's come back to my place for coffee. So they go back to his place, and it's, I think, a little bit later now. It's about like 11, thereabouts. And he goes to his kitchen, and he's making coffee. And she just takes her shirt off, man. She just straight up took her shirt off. And he was like, oh, what? And she was like, I just finished coffee. I didn't come here for coffee. And then they fucked. It was great.
Good for her.
Yeah.
All right. So you can verbally or non-verbally.
Wow, I hope I hope there are guys and girls who listen to this, because this is like pearls of wisdom. These are real gems coming out of Naomi's mouth. So that's really good. And you know what I like? I like this a lot because, of course, being on the LSDcast, Rogue and me, we always tend to, kind of like sugarcoat stuff. But Naomi says it how it is. She calls the shit out. And I love that.
Right. Okay, so let's get into the rules of it now. So now you've decided that you are going to go ahead.
Okay.
Whether you've taken
Yes.
your verbally or non-verbally,
Yes.
whatever. You
Has
grabbed
the
him.
metaphysical nudity come into play?
Yes. Physical nudity has come into play. What are the rules? What are we doing next? Who's got the condoms? Because
So-
these are non-negotiable. Anybody
Yes,
who listens
absolutely.
to the LSD cast knows you have to have protection unless you have been tested together and been in a strictly monogamous relationship with each other forever.
Yes, I mean, I think like I want to be able to separate like using the idea of like what is normal. So like safe sex is what normal should be.
Absolutely.
And having non-safe sex is what I call a fluid bond, where you're like fluid bonded with someone, where you
Right.
trust them enough that
You're
basically your
exchanging
health
fluids.
and their health is effectively the same thing.
Yeah. And if it's not, you guys,
Yeah, exactly.
Back off.
So if you're, I mean, like, and even with me, what tends to happen is that, hey, you know what? If I want to play fast and loose with my health, that's on me and that's fine. But if I'm doing it with someone else, that is a massive no-no. Like, obviously, I need to prioritize my health. But if I'm in a space where I'm not doing that, that's fine. You do you. Your body is your own business. But you don't get to put someone else at risk. So like deciding to go bareback should be a huge decision that should be made with two people together thinking about it.
Yeah.
But coming back to the condoms, who should carry the condoms? Everybody. Like, I feel like everyone should just walk around their general lives with like a fuck ton of condoms around them all the time.
I agree.
Right. So in parentheses, I'm going to slip one into my wallet right now.
Like, wherever you go, you never know where the sex will catch you.
I wish.
Exactly.
Dude, I want this life.
Yeah, and being in India, it's an advantage because the condoms in America are fucking expensive.
Hey man, I mean, like, I know, like that there are girls who are just like, Durex or go home. So like, I mean, if you want and if you have particular ideas about what kind of condoms you want to use, carry them yourself.
Also, non-latex. Some people have latex
Exactly,
allergies.
yes,
You might want to
sheepskins,
just carry your own non-latex condom.
Yeah, that's just like, just assume that everyone does not know and just carry your own if you've got latex allergies.
I recommend Skin, SKYN.
Yes. Interestingly, Skin is also something that has been recommended to me by men who take a long time coming with penovaginal sex, because a lot of the condoms have numbing agents in the lube.
Which is very irritating for lots of girls, you
Exactly.
guys.
Dudes, nobody wants to be lying down there for 40 minutes of pumping. It's not fun for anyone. Just calm down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, the thinner, the better, the more feeling anybody gets, the better. It's not about being punitive to your sexual organs. It's just about protecting you. Yeah.
Okay, so boys and girls and everybody else,
Skin is the way to go.
carry your condoms.
Carry your
because
condoms, yes.
SKIN is not the way to go. SKYN,
yes.
unfortunately, is the way to go.
Okay, so another little heads up. Condoms are
No
things
pun
that are-
intended.
Yeah, sure. Condoms are a delicate little creature. If you keep them in your wallet where they can be rubbed against things, or if you keep them in your bags, keys, coins, metallic objects with sharp, ladies, hairpins, clips, pins in general, all of that stuff, a tiny little hole can go a long way. Like one small hole for condom, one giant baby for human. So ideally speaking, what I do, my little hack, is to use an Altoid box or like a mint box to be able to just stock my condoms in those, because having a little metal case, like in the UK and stuff, you can get little condom cases for your condoms. But it just make do with what you have, but try not to have your packet rubbing against stuff. Just treat it like it's fragile, because it mostly is.
And pay attention to expiry dates.
Yeah, and I think it's for all the men out there, it's a huge misconception to actually carry a condom in your wallet, because you're pretty much sitting on that wallet and it's getting squished. So kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
And like Naomi said, you don't want little piece of you running around in 9 months.
What about like in a place where there are other people? Lots of people in India don't have their own
This is so
rooms
true.
even.
This is so true.
They want to forget their own apartment.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, this is a really, really dicey one. Because on one hand, I don't want to go on the record endorsing illegal actions. But on the other hand, fuck that shit. Just fuck whatever you like, so long as you're not infringing on someone else's privacy. So
Stay Uncle.
Huh?
StayUncle.com.
StayUncle.com. What is this?
So there's Stay Uncle is a place specifically designed for stuff like this, where you can go and rent out a room for like 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours or 1 hour.
Oh, 1 hour. Yeah.
Nice one.
Delhi also has them.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
My life has changed.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we could help one
So
person.
much more sex in my future now.
You're welcome, Naomi.
But yeah, no, I mean, so for those of us who aren't privileged enough to be able to afford effectively hotel rooms, I'm just saying this because this has happened with some of my friends. Clubs, corners of clubs, parks, strange roads.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I know. So like things like, one of my friends, public bathrooms.
Yeah, actually, hotel bathrooms don't have CCTV.
Bathrooms in general, like once you go into a cubicle, you're pretty much fine. So I know one of my friends was very particular about hygiene, but she's also very horny, so she desperately wants to get fucked. And this guy, it was just, like, I've got work tomorrow, oh my god, I can't come home. Because, going home sex means it's long, there's foreplay involved, there's aftercare, it takes at least 2 hours. But bathroom sex means you can have it done and dusted in like 15 minutes and then everyone just catches their cabs and leaves. So she's just like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm down for this. Because it's whatever, but also I don't want to sleep. I don't want to get on a bathroom floor. Like,
God,
it's dirty.
what? No.
Yeah. My first thought was, why weren't you doing it against the wall?
Yeah, I mean, and there's toilet seats.
Yeah, I feel like he just didn't have the upper body strength to be able to accommodate that, which is fine.
Yeah, Indian men.
No, actually, this was an American.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Archie type American.
Men
males.
in general, men across the board.
Yes.
Present company excluded, I'm sure. But
Men
yeah.
could carry 2 women.
Absolutely, why not?
So he was very accommodating. He's like, don't worry, I'll do it. So he got flat on the floor and she got on top. And they both kept their pants on. So the only kind of genitals that met the environment were with each other. And they just had some very strange sex on a bathroom floor.
Okay,
Yeah.
then.
Generally in India, I would say if you're in spaces that are public spaces, you might run the risk of people coming up to you being like, and obscenity charges, calling your mom and dad, Janta Dal, politics will end up happening, splashed across the newspapers. So I would say try to avoid spaces where someone can walk in on you, where you don't have a door you can lock. So even if, like, say for instance, if you're in a club and you're fucking in a bathroom there, you lock the door, and if someone knocks on the door, you can put your pants on and say, haha, I was vomiting. So getting yourself some kind of like plausible deniability goes a long way. But hey man, if you gotta do what you gotta do, you gotta do it.
Right.
I guess when you need to do it, you gotta do it.
When a girl's gotta go, a girl's gotta go.
Gotta have it. So another question I have is like, everybody's seen Pretty Woman, right? So
Yes.
there's casual sex and she doesn't kiss because it's too intimate. And I've been told on good authority that loads and loads and loads of sex workers actually don't do that.
Yes.
What about oral sex? To me, that seems even more intimate.
I feel like, this is a beautiful one because it starts at how we're defining intimacy. So physical intimacy is very, very much one thing. Like, it doesn't get more intimate than, just like putting your genitals on someone else's genitals across the board. But I feel like where it gets really beautiful with kissing for some people is that that's the space that's closest to your face, and
Well, then genitals in your face. Sorry, that sounds bad.
No, it's very true. But like, say for instance, this is I'm going off on a tangent here, so stop me if I'm going across. This is one beautiful article which talks about how difficult it is to look into someone's eyes for longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And the amount of expression that you have in one person's face, the amount of vulnerability, or just like, if I look into someone's face and I can see that they don't give a shit, I can see that. But if I look into their penis, I don't have to see that stuff. I don't have to give a shit about what they're feeling because I'm just looking at your dick.
So you're not looking at the eyes, you're looking at one eye.
Exactly. I am looking into the Cyclops of desire. I'm down for that.
Oh my God.
The Cyclops of Desire. I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah, so like, you can keep your emotions and I can keep my emotions. And we can just both have our emotions separately.
Right. So,
Well, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oral sex or no oral sex? Is that part of foreplay or no?
So I feel like it should be an integral, beautiful part of foreplay because vaginas and penises can't do as much as tongues can, and everyone has tongues.
People have fingers as well.
Yes, I know, but like tongues are so nice and slippery. Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's like having like a little thing inside a vagina that can go and do interesting stuff. I love oral. It's fantastic.
You should see her moving her hands right now.
But things you need to keep in mind for oral are when with casual sex in general, oral can give you STDs. So HIV in particular, viral load, which is the disease itself, is transmitted through fluids.
So that means saliva.
Yes.
As well as pre-cum.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
for women as well.
Exactly. So if it's anything vaguely fluid, it's gonna get transmitted. So say for instance, it's not like if you're giving a male oral, and if he comes in your mouth, the chances of if you have like a small cut in your mouth or just generally the mucous membranes in your mouth are very absorbent, you can just get HIV if someone comes in your mouth. It's one of those things where with pre-cum, etc., you're playing with margins. You're making the decision of how safe am I willing to be.
Somebody I don't know or trust.
How many borders am I willing to put my line on the line for? Like it's literally your life that you're putting on the line. And it's like for some people that might be something which is something you do. Because I'm not going to be unrealistically idealistic about this.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for this thread was just that in as much as we all know the basics of safe sex, people do stupid shit because heat of the moment stuff happens.
Absolutely. So you can have oral sex with a condom.
Yes.
You can have sex with an oral dam, although I don't even know where in India you can get
You
one.
get them at chemists actually because they're for dentists. They're not even a sex thing. Like it's a dental dam. So if you go to a chemist and you ask for a dental dam, you can actually get one. But if you can't get one, a very simple hack is you cut off the top of a condom and then you cut lengthways across the condom and boom, you've got a stretchable, non-porous piece of latex which you then put on a vagina or a vulva to be able to get that happen. I honestly know one person who has ever used a dental dam for oral sex for women. I know as a woman, I have never gone out of my way to say, hey, you know what, hold on, we shouldn't be doing this unless we've got a dental dam involved. I don't know any women, feminists as hardcore as it gets, who will do that kind of thing. And honestly,
I never heard of a dental dam till right now. So, yeah.
dental dams are effectively girl condoms.
Yeah.
And you know, it's legit. It's legit in the sense that if like even say for instance, we're talking about HIV in relation to viral load, right? So even with HIV, it's one of those things where if you come in contact one time with someone who has HIV, it's not that you are almost destined 100% to get it. Not to say that you should be in any way taking risks with this kind of thing, but also like there's a certain amount of stigma attached with people who have HIV as well, and it's not like they, you know, like use protection obviously, but say for instance with like there are rates of transmission that differ. So if you are, you know, one of those people who want to be able to get into the margins of that, say for instance with someone who you are in a relationship with, etc., go on to wiki and check this out, because I can't speak for the numbers directly, but there is an entire chart of what sexual act is more likely to give you HIV. But honestly speaking, for women in particular, HIV is not as dangerous as HPV.
Correct. I was just going to say.
Yes,
so there's,
exactly.
And there's also herpes simplex.
Yes.
And there's things that you don't even want to think about. Syphilis.
You know,
gonorrhea,
honestly,
and
like
chlamydia.
this is. You know what? Let's think about it.
I had a question. Like, what if you know, one of the partners wanted to do a bit more and get a little down and dirty and maybe get a bit kinky? So, what do you think the rules would be on that? If should the other partner consent? Not. You know, everybody likes to get freaky in bed.
Yeah. I actually think this is where communication is critical. Like, it's fantastic. But it's also a skill you develop by practicing. Just being able to talk about what you want while in bed, while you're, you know, just getting down and dirty, while you're in the zone, as it were.
With a stranger. Let's underscore that.
Yeah. It's, I know it's difficult, but I also just want to say to everyone, it is sexy as hell. You know, so you don't need to think of this as one of those things where it's something to be scared of, because what will they think about me? Log kya kahenge should not be relevant when you are naked with someone. And like, it's, for the most part, people are usually down. So like, unless you're going to ask for something that involves, you know, them possibly being in a space where they can get hurt, or them dealing with fetishes that are a little bit on the fringe end, like being peed on or scatophilia, coprophilia, that kind of stuff. Mostly, like, you know, people are always down to try stuff out. So literally, if you just want to ask, hey, do you want to tie me up? Or, hey, how do you feel about, like, I'm into pain, or I'm into getting a little rough. It's short. Getting into that conversation by sort of testing the waters with euphemism is great. But if you've got willing, active consent, and that is consent where it's not someone being like, yeah, okay, I guess, that is not consent. That, I mean, like, that's not just, you just stop that shit right there and just go about doing your normal vanilla stuff and be grateful. But if someone is just like, yeah, you know what, I enjoy being choked, for instance, you can give it a shot and you can talk about it, and like, the process of communicating while you're doing stuff is also really critical. So say, for instance, what my go-to stuff with kink is always the red, yellow, green system. So kink requires safe words. Safe words are words that you want to say to stop stuff, but are not necessarily words like no. Because some people like to say no, and then, you know, things continue to play. So if you want to be able to just go over your regular stuff, but at the same time have a little option to stop it, red, yellow, green is really, really easy. So red just means stop everything sexual right now. Possibly don't even touch me right now if you're a stranger, because I might not want that from you. Go directly into aftercare mode if you're not the person who is called red. Look after the person. Ask if they're okay. Ask what they need. Get them a cup of chai. Shut that shit down. Yellow is when you want to stop a particular act, or you want someone going forward to be a little careful about what they're doing. Like, say, for instance, with anal. Anal can get painful. There's a lot of communication important with anal.
Ongoing.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, there's a constant thing of, is this enough? Is this too much? Should I stop? Should I prep some more? All of that. Yellow is really good there, because, you know, you can be a little like, okay, I'm going to, like, you know, step back a bit. Even in relation to stuff like being slapped around, which is just very, very basic kind of BDSM.
Snap my picture, Prem. Last episode.
It's you know, being able to say, you know what, this actually is too painful, versus just dial down the pain a little bit but keep slapping is super important. And green obviously just means I am down for this, my body is ready, just keep going and doing what you're doing.
Don't stop.
Yes.
All right, there you had it. Red, yellow, green.
Okay, have we forgotten something in the primer for casual sex?
I think it's safe to say that we covered pretty much everything.
What about after? Who leaves? Who stays? Are you supposed to stay? Are you supposed to cuddle? Are you supposed to offer to have the person stay over? Do you call them a taxi and be like, okay, bye? What do you do?
Honestly, it's how you navigate your own needs. If you feel like you are down for a cuddle and you're down for a bit of like snuggling and talking and just pillow talk in general, go for it. Do it.
But both people try to beat the other person.
Exactly.
Right?
It's totally okay. But again, if the other person seems like they want to leave, or if you feel like, if the other person wants to stay, but you're just like, you know what, I need my space right now, you're entitled to that as well. So because this is casual sex, I feel like it's really, really important to be able to say that the amount of emotional obligation you have to take care of the other person in relation to what happens after is a little less. Yes. So don't be a gargantuan dick. Of course, this is not licensed to be a dick. But also realize that people are responsible for their own emotional welfare, for taking care of themselves, and they should be able to step up and do that. And if they can't do that, then they possibly should not be having casual sex.
Right.
And everyone's grown up in this situation. This is what they've signed up for.
We hope so.
So if you like, I know people who have been like, if I cuddle a woman after she begins to think that I want a relationship, so after sex I don't touch her, and that's a bit gross, man. I mean, like, stop being a fucking 2-year-old. I don't want your dick. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But like, it's on the other hand, it's also one of those, like, you don't want to make people uncomfortable with intimacy offered after sex is over. So honestly, rule of thumb, you do you and you let them do them.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
If they're not doing what you want them or need them to do. Because you don't have you have a little contract for a little time and now you're done.
Yeah.
And everybody get Uber and Ola on your phone.
Seriously. Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I mean, like, I feel like this is one of those places where, like, guys, if it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and the Uber's really far away, you might just want to possibly see whether you can put your discomfort a little bit on hold simply because of the physical safety issues for women getting home late at night. But if she's, again, willing to do it, that's something that's agency respected.
All right. And next day, are we going to say thank you for mind-blowing sex? Or hopefully it was mind-blowing sex.
Honestly, for me, it's one of those, do I want to repeat or not? So I do the usual just kind of date thing of, hey, I had a great time last night. If I want to go again. If I don't want to go again, honestly, I just don't say shit. I am a dick. I just, that door has been closed. We did the thing.
Thanks.
And yep.
What is it? Wham, bam, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Slam, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not meant as like a personal affront.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to want to give someone a false idea of what this was.
Right.
I should not feel as though I'm obliged to do that either.
What about just thanks for last night? Have a good one.
Yeah.
See you around. No, not see you around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like the next morning after...
Or you just say that, last night was great, just say something like that. And if you genuinely want to get together again, you say it, like, we should get together again. And if you don't, then I don't think it makes sense to say anything.
But then you're starting a conversation. So
exactly.
Maybe you just
I feel like it's one of those things
where
where the next morning you're opening a channel again.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
It's this, it's this idea that somehow we owe it to people that we fucked to keep in touch and to make things all right, as though something is wrong at all.
Right.
So if neither party really needs that closure, it's not a fucking relationship. We can just walk away. No feelings hurt. It's fine. Nobody loses that much of it.
Awesome. I'm down with that. Prem?
All right. It's been educational, ladies. It really has been.
Dental dams for everyone.
HPV testing. Gardasil for the win.
All right. We have to take a break and we will be right back.
Find the LSDcast online on Twitter and Facebook and on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Wow, now that was such an educational episode, guys. I don't know about all the listeners, but I, as you could tell, was very riveted to what was going on the other side with the two ladies. But Naomi, thank you so much for coming to the show. You are nothing less than a powerhouse. I love your attitude. You're very straightforward, and I only wish everybody who listens to this learns something from you. And thank you once again for being on the show.
Entirely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
She's going to be back. Trust me.
Oh, we're going to make sure of that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you want to find us or you have more questions and you'd like for Naomi to come back and address stuff, this is how you find her. She's on Twitter.
Yes, I am at Naomi 0_0 Barton. But you can just search for Naomi Barton and you'll be able to find me.
She's definitely out there. And we are LSDcast, so you can ask us questions. We can try to bring her back and answer some questions. And, we didn't finish what we've got so much to talk about, even just in the realm of casual sex. So Naomi will be back to talk about the emotional hazards and how to navigate them.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you stick around. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. But until then, LSDcast at sonolog.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You know how to find us. Send us your questions. And I think next week we've got one about somebody who's working with someone but cannot commit because he's just come out of a long-term relationship. Right, Prem? Is that what we're talking about next week?
Something like that. But in order to find out, you just need to tune in.
Right. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much, Naomi.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Ta-ta, guys.
See you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to the LSD Cast, where it's all about love, sex, and desi dating. With your hosts, Prem and Ro.
A Sonolog production.